Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all, and we have entered the coldest of cold pubs, hence why the old Jeremy Clarkson's out today. But joining me in the studio is Richard Hammond and James May. So you're in for a treat today. You really are in for a treat. You've been sending your questions. We're going to provide some answers. The first question comes from Joseph.
I could do with some.
He says, which player's career has dipped the most? Christopher Hamill, please do lead the way.
Oh, thank you very much, Joseph. It is wonderful to be back with you guys last week.
Rather than George.
Right. I'd go for, when you stop doing it, I'd go for Di Maria.
Go on then.
I think at Real Madrid he was producing excellence on a regular basis.
Agreed.
This season at PSG, obviously, he's only scored 1 goal in 19 league appearances.
Ooh.
And he has 5 assists.
Is that more to do with Emery though? Would you blame it on Emery?
Similarly to Blanc, he's playing on the left or the right for Emery, and he has made 15 starts still. So I think
really?
Emery has faith in him, but it's been very tactile when the sort of press have confronted him about his Di Maria's lack of form. Obviously, Kel Horror, PSG aren't top of the league, so which could signal the end for Unai Emery after one solitary season. So yeah, I think it's alarming. It's alarming when Edison Cavani has 20 plus goals and the next top goal scorer is Lucas Moura on 6. I don't know what's happened to Di Maria this season. I think he just regrets leaving Real Madrid.
China beckons.
Sad to see. Sad to
I really
see.
do. Pato, what are you saying?
It's difficult because a lot of these players are guys who've got old, and I don't think you can really criticise a player for getting old and not being, what they once
Very
were.
true.
There are a bunch of people. I mean, Fraser Forster and Virgil van Dijk both spring to mind. I rate both of them very, very highly, but they've both had horrible seasons so far.
So are you saying Van Dijk?
No.
Who are you saying?
I want to talk about Wayne Rooney. Because look, Wayne Rooney has got old, and there's no getting around that. And for him, they just caught up to him sooner than for other players because he started so young. Whatever people in the press say, whatever the tabloids say, Wayne Rooney has had a world-class career.
100%.
He really has. He's going to be the second Premier League player to hit 200 Premier League goals. He's got more assists than any players in Premier League history, bar Giggs and Lampard.
So why has he tapered off then? Because the question is about dips. Because he has clearly got worse over the past 2 years in particular. I notice it all the time. His first touch is shot to bits.
Well, he was switched around a lot. I mean, like I said, he is a versatile player, but then some managers have fallen into the trap of thinking they can just park him anywhere and he's going to be decisive. He's not a central midfielder, and he never has been. That was a stupid idea. The idea that you could play him as a 10 now, I think, is a bit misguided as well. If you're going to use him as anything now, he's got to be a centre forward. He doesn't have the mobility for anything else. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that and a little bit of injury.
Man United have got worse in the last 3 or 4 years, right? So it's
true.
It's not. It's just consigned just to Wayne Rooney.
I'm going to have to say Kaka though.
Yeah.
Kaka, when he left Milan and it just all went wrong for him. Obviously, the main reason, like you said, the key reasons for people dipping, I think, are age and injuries. Yeah. And injuries is what really hampered Kaka. Obviously, he had that horrendous left knee injury, had surgery, missed 8 months of the season at Real Madrid. Never quite recaptured that form. He was one of the most graceful players I've ever watched.
He used to glide, didn't he, mate?
He was like a Zidane glider. You know, who could just walk past you. In a similar way to Zidane, then just whip it in the top corner. Kaka was a beautiful footballer to watch. The man who won World Cups, Champions League, Serie A's, Ballon d'Ors at Milan. He just couldn't do it. It just never worked for him at the Bernabeu.
There was periods when he came back from his injury and he actually captained Real Madrid.
2 or 3 game spells.
And he scored a few goals, showed a bit of his old self, but yeah.
85 appearances in 4 years at Madrid. 85 appearances. That's all they got out of him. 85 games. Such a waste. 65 million euros, I believe the fee was, and 85 appearances. Properly unacceptable. Pogboom has our next question. He says, which team is the most underrated in Europe? Single word answers, please, gentlemen. Christopher Hamill, boom us off.
Boom us off. I'd go with Sarri, which is Napoli. One touch, Hamsik, dynamic, love them. Lots of words. Go on, Pat.
Sevilla.
Monaco. There you go, Pogboom. Another quick one from Quack Whack. He says, if you were a player that was getting old, which league would you go to? Interesting question. Let's keep it nice and short. Hamill.
Why don't you start, Van Straan? You're ancient.
Yeah.
Mate,
Go on,
you're way past your life expectancy. You're from the north. Like, if you hit 22, then you're like a grandpa.
I have got grandkids.
Come on, somebody answer the questions because Quack Quack's getting agitated.
The New Zealand League. New Zealand's like the most beautiful country in the world. I'd definitely go to New Zealand. High quality of life as well.
Oh, so you're not even interested in football.
Football.
More sheep than people, that's what Van Straan cares about. Just not encountering another soul.
If I'm getting old, I want the money and I want to live somewhere nice and experience a different culture. That's what I want.
Well, fair enough. What about you, Hamster?
I too like Van Straan, I'm a cultured man. I'd go to China. 1, for the dosh. 2, to practice the Mandarin I learnt first year at uni.
Every time.
我喜欢足球 means I like football. So
I'd love it if that was wrong.
actually soft failed uni. Soft failed that part of my degree at university. So, but yeah,
Soft
China,
failed?
mate. Yeah, it's less than 40. It's between 30 and 40% as a soft fail.
Soft fail.
Yeah.
Soft fail.
Letting you down gently, like
Yeah.
you failed, but softly.
Softly.
So-
I was going to say Iceland. After all, Northern Lights, decent football facilities. I'm going to go India. Love a Jalfrezi. India.
And?
They've got some good footballers out there, have they? I don't know,
Yeah.
they might have all gone now.
Perez has come back now. He's just fucking lingering around the Arsenal training ground
all
like a
the
bad
time.
smell.
But yeah, get me a football pitch, some Indian heat and a Jalfrezi, and I'm right as rain.
But where would you guys go? India? Anyway, New Zealand or China?
Big dog Sean Delaney with the next question. He says, why isn't Ancelotti's Bayern playing to their full potential? Now, this is a hell of a squad. We've all said this is probably the best squad in Europe, and they're just ahead of RB Leipzig in the league. Pato, what's going wrong with Ancelotti's side?
Well, yeah, they're top of the league, but they have a massive talent advantage over the rest of the German teams. And also, I just think that this squad is set up for a Pep Guardiola system, but Ancelotti is actually, he plays in a more direct way. He's trying to do quite a difficult thing here, which is combine a lot of Pep's groundwork with the way that he actually wants his side to play football. And he said himself it was going to take 6 months, maybe even a year. If they get to the end of this year and win the title, and in that time they've adapted to Ancelotti, then the rest of the league should be very, very scared.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Thomas Muller as well, Hamster. Thomas Muller's influence on that team, not to what it once was.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a very happy bunny, does he? But only seems to play when they change to a 4-2-3-1, which has happened only 3 or 4 times this season. And he comes in at the expense of Vidal. Which brings us nicely to my first point, which is Philipp Lahm yesterday, when announcing his retirement, also announced that he would be rejecting the role of sporting director at the club, which would be a huge blow to the hierarchy of that club, because that's what Bayern do well, isn't it? They have this culture of excellence because they take their best players and they give them jobs, big jobs for the boys at the club. And him rejecting it and saying he has a problem with Hoeneß suggests to me that some players don't like what's going on behind the scenes.
I kind of agree. I think people underestimated Pep's involvement in how good that Bayern Munich team was. Before Pep came in, Bayern Munich hadn't won back-to-back league titles since 05-06. So it's a long time. That shows the competitive nature of the league. Just because Dortmund have dropped off, they've been replaced by RB Leipzig. I think it's so tight. It's always tight at top there. And I also think Ancelotti's focusing on the Champions League, I'll be honest. They haven't won it for how many years now? 2 to 3 years? I think it's all guns blazing for the Champions League. I think he knows he's going to win the league. I think he knows he's got enough guns to win the league playing at 80%, and he can go all out in the Champions League. I think that's what his main aim is this season. But what do you think the reason is for Bayern's slump this season? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Sniping Comedy comes in with our next question. Pato, you've got to take this on, mate. You're the only Arsenal fan in the room. What are Arsenal missing to win the title? Now, written in the notes here, it just simply says, a good manager. So George Wright,
Is that fair?
he's on a mad one. Is it fair?
The thing is, Arsene Wenger is a good manager. What he isn't is good enough to win the league with Arsenal anymore.
Give us a name then. Give us a name that you would have to take it. Because there's not many available.
There are 4 names who I would be pleased with.
Yeah,
Simeone's obviously top of the tree.
obviously.
People say that he doesn't fit Arsenal. That's not the worst thing in the world. He wins things. His teams are feared.
True.
And actually, I think that our squad would be quite interesting under Simeone. The next guy is Hasenhüttl, obviously doing very well with RB Leipzig. Did very well at Ingolstadt before that. He's got an interesting tactical system, which again I'd like. I'd also like it if he brought Naby Keita with him.
Just about to say that. Took the words out of my mouth.
Then there's obviously Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, very attacking coach, as we know again,
Love
an
Tuchel.
innovator. And if I were him, I'd be pissed off at Dortmund if they carry on selling Dortmund's best players every season.
Yeah.
That must grind you down as a boss.
It ground Klopp down, didn't it? Eventually.
See them leave. Yeah.
He can bring Ousmane Dembele with him.
That I would also take that. And the final guy, I think, is Sampaoli.
George.
Sampaoli is like, he's a maniac coach. I mean, his teams play out of their minds at sometimes, and then just they'll go to like Espanyol or whatever and lose 3-0. Like they're quite unreliable in that way. But what they are is they're entertaining, they're disciplined. They have a tactical system. What sometimes happens with Arsenal is, I think, if we win this game, it'll be because like Alexis or Ozil did something amazing.
Yeah.
We won't win it because our tactical plan was just superior to our opponents.
Requise has chucked in a very interesting question here. He says, who is the most overrated player in the world? Now, as a Man United fan, I know what every comment is going to be here. Is going to be Paul Pogba. And to some extent,
Oh my god.
I'm going to say it, I'm going to agree with them. At the moment,
Chucking him under the bus.
I'm not chucking him under the bus because he is a fantastic player and he's extremely influential in Jose Mourinho's current setup. But at £89 million, some of the things he's done and some of the chances he's missed in big games in particular are unacceptable. This is a guy who's been at Champions League finals. He should be a big game player for Manchester United at £89 million. And against top 6 teams this season, he's been terrible. He's been brilliant against the lower half teams where he can dominate the pitch, physically dominate opposition midfields. But against the top 6 teams, he's struggled like crazy. Against bottom half teams, he's creating 2.5 chances a game. Against top 6 teams, he's creating 0.3.
But you'd expect some drop off against teams that are better.
100%. But then equally,
I thought he was good against us.
I'm still expecting him to dominate the midfield. Against bottom half teams, he's averaging 70 successful passes. Against top 6 teams, that drops to 40.
Wow.
But that's just my opinion. Don't get me wrong, Man United fans. He is going to be one of the world's best midfielders over the next 5 years. It takes a while to adapt to the Premier League. And I think next season you'll see the best out of Paul Pogba. But at the moment, right now, he's overrated. Pato, go on, mate.
Well, I'd like to give a little shout out before I go for my real.
Oh.
It's a big Pete Cech.
Oh, yes.
I love Petr Cech. I really do, and I think any Premier League fan has got to love Petr Cech. Like, he's been a phenomenal keeper. But you still hear like kind of the old school pundits say like Arsenal, you know, they've got a top forward in Sanchez, you know, and they've got a top defender in Kishore, and a top goalkeeper in Cech. He is not a top goalkeeper anymore. He's now a very old.
Why? Is that because he's old?
How old is he? 34?
34. And
How old is Buffon?
he struggles. Yeah,
Buffon's a freak. He's a freak. He is a freak.
But anyway, moving on from that, my real pick is Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba has played in incredible Barcelona teams, and as a result, people think that he himself is an incredible player. What he is a little. Like, he's very.
I was just about to say, is this personal with you?
He's very, very fast. Don't get me wrong, he's very fast, so I'm sure he's great on FIFA. Not that I give a but like this idea that like
He's going in.
oh, he's so creative, oh, he's a good defender. He's neither good going forward nor going back. Also, whenever there's a fight, Joe pointed this out before, whenever there's a fight, Jordi Alba is the first guy getting involved.
First guy.
When we played them last year in the Champions League, he tried to headbutt Olivier Giroud, and obviously he mostly missed because he's about 5'1".
Ironically,
but
Joe
it's disgusting.
pointed that out as, you know, similar behaviour occurs with him. But
All I'm going to say is he looks exactly like Rattata from Pokemon. Has anybody noticed this?
Is it not Rat-a-tat?
Whatever, Rattata.
Ratata.
He
That
looks
sounds like some
He
hors
looks
d'oeuvre.
so much like
Rattata, sir?
Rattata, whatever, that Pokemon. I didn't really play the game, but I've seen the comparisons, and it's freakish. Christopher Hamill, are you going to pick another Barca player?
I am. It's almost as if you knew what I was going to say,
Almost.
buddy. And this is only because I watched Barcelona defeat Athletic Bilbao 3-0 last week, and in the midfield 3 there was Arda Turan. There's a man who takes his chances when he's given a game, when he's given 90 minutes on the pitch. 3 goals in 12 starts this season, also has 3 assists, so he's delivering. He's taking part in a goal every 2 games. But Andre Gomez, still don't get him. Still don't get. Is he supposed to replace Iniesta? Is he supposed to replace Rakitic? At £50 million, they placed an enormous amount of faith in him,
Yeah.
And in 15 La Liga games this season, he has 1 assist. And
So
that's
maybe it's
fine if he's
Busquets'
playing
replacement.
deep. Yeah, if he's acting as the pivot in Busquets' absence. But before that, he was also averaging 0.3, I think even less than that, key passes per game. Whereas someone like Iniesta, who's also dropped a little bit deeper, was averaging something like 1.5. So when he does foray forward, still not quite as deadly. I mean, he's got a 90% pass act, so you know he's a little metronome. He likes to
Respect that though from a Barcelona
exactly.
midfielder.
He likes to start play. I abbreviate things because I'm cool. But yeah, just not convinced. I think Arda Turan, when he's been given a chance, has played much better. He's been much more influential than Andre Gomez.
Yeah.
Ooh, but which one of those three would you pick? Is it Gomez? Is it Jordi Alba or Paul Pogba? Vote in the poll above my head, floating.
Is it
in
your
there?
head? That head.
Yeah. Final question of the day comes from Will Burnsy Burns on Twitter. If you want to get involved on
Excellent.
Twitter, hit us up on our handles. This question says, who would be your ideal midfield who don't play for the same team? They've got to be a midfield 3, and I'm not letting attacking midfielders into this. You can't have Ozil, you can't have De Bruyne, it's boring.
Dictate rules to me, you random-looking mother.
I'll dictate what I want.
Oh, I've got the iPad. I've got the power. Right,
You've charmed me, Pato.
Right, okay, well, I assume I kind of Di Maria, even though he did play central midfield.
No, you can't have Di Maria.
Bullshit, dick move. But I'll put in Vidal, Arturo Vidal, obviously.
Obviously.
Luka Modric also should be obvious.
Luka.
And then last position, man, this is tough. You know what, I will go for Busquets.
Keeping it simple.
Right. I also
Go on
think
then, mate.
we can't have the same players as one another. This could be really boring.
Okay.
Right, I'm going to go for Kante. Straight
Brilliant.
up.
There
to
goes one
play
of
in the midfield
Just
by
nicked that.
himself. Thiago Alcantara at
Like
Bayern.
it.
The one-touch G himself. Ooh, maybe Xabi Alonso just had a bit of experience, a bit of beardage. But I'm going to go for Tom Rogic.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh.
The best player to come out of Australia since Timmy Cahill.
Timmy Cahill, one of my favourite players of all time. Seeing as you've stolen Kante, furious.
Spitting.
So I'll have to come up with something later. I've gone for Kroos,
Yeah,
Obviously.
probably the world's best midfielder.
Yeah,
At the moment,
without
at the moment, I agree
shadow
with that.
of a
Yeah.
doubt. Creating 3 chances a game. He's mental.
Numbers. I will have to say Iniesta still. And then final position, I'm going to have to look for someone in the deeper role.
You've got so many options.
I've looked at Michael Carrick, but I'm saying not right now. I'm going to actually say Moussa Dembele can do it in there for me.
I actually love
Moussa Dembele can do it in there for me.
the rare Tomlinson good choice.
The best dribbler in midfield in the world. The best dribbler in the world in midfield.
He is a phenomenal player. Can't get the ball up.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on.
The
What did you
strongest
say?
man
The best dribbler in world football
In the
from
midfield, yeah.
in central midfield.
In central midfield.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I've never seen the man dispossessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very strong on the ball. I have not given this thought, so
He's all arms. He's like 6 foot wide.
let's wrap it up.
There's so many guys we haven't even mentioned. I mean, like Pogba, Marquisio, Verratti, Weigl.
I'm swapping
Fernandinho.
Dembele for Verratti. You're right. I'm swapping Dembele for Verratti.
Oh, well, brilliant. Glad we had that discussion then.
So that's all we've got time for on today's Sunday Vibes, but there's rubbish football for the rest of the day. So go out and do something interesting, or you could win a signed Neymar shirt and a copy of Pro Evolution Soccer 2017. Christopher Hamill, how do they do it?
Right, so barring VFN, on Stat Wars as well, we've hidden some Neymar heads
Yes.
here, there and everywhere. We need you to tweet me and Pat the time codes of those Neymar heads and your name's in the hat. Don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle, do you?
Exactly, and make sure as well you get your questions in for next week's Sunday Vibes in the comments right now with the hashtag Sunday Vibes for obvious reasons. Thanks very much for watching, these guys for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.